Good afternoon, ASEAN, and good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, moderator. Just give me a second. I think I just saw a message from the moderator. She seems to be stuck outside. Live chat team just counter check on our moderator. I don't know why her Zoom dropped off. Sorry, all. Okay, let me restart this. So sorry. Good afternoon, ASEAN, and good afternoon, moderator. Hopefully she's in, and she's the Deputy EVP of Customer Experience and Digitalization of Telkom Indonesia, very popularly known as the Digital Women in Indonesia. And to all my respective plenary contributor, Ms. Simona van Nimvad, and she's the innovation catalyst of Chanel. And of course, she runs her own company, Rebella. And Zoe, who is the co-founder of Concordia, an open innovation platform. Ajahn Kandi Leopailod, a lady that I highly respect, the chief advisor for Future Foresight and Innovation, Future Tiers Lab at MQDC. Dr. M.D. Lee, Business Development Director, Advanced Remanufacturing and Technology Center Agency, commonly known in Singapore as ASAR. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hong Sin, and I'm one of the founding members of ASEAN Chief Information Officer Association. I'm responsible for the global relationship alliances, events, activities, and obviously forming strong relationship internationally. I consider this live chat the digital channel, leveraging on the whole innovative tools for video conferencing, live streaming as a savior for these pandemic times, to be able to continue to reach out to the C-level across the region. And also, this morning, we have a very interesting session with also the youth. So ASEAN CIO covers, with the interest of digital transformation across the 10 nations, and also looking from all angle and all ages to look into also digital literacy. So firstly, this is a public event, and I like to highlight that your name, your photos, your voice could be captured. So with PDPA, Personal Data Protection Act, we like to emphasize that as ASEAN CIO Association, we do not send or sell your contact details to any third party. So when you register as attendee, you have granted us the permission for sending newsletters or email for updates. But should you opt not to receive any, you can either drop us a note or unsubscribe if it is sent from MailChimp. So secondly, the session permit questions to be posted on group chat on the group chat Zoom column. And if you wish to come online, you can raise hand, and so the host will permit you to come online, and moderator will also attend to your question at the appropriate time. And allow me to offer a quick brief for those who are very new with ASEAN CIO Association. We're a non-profit organization initiated by a group of passionate CIOs started out in Thailand since 2010. And our current president, Kun Chaithalanatipet, I believe he has joined us for this session. And he has led this organization since 2010. While the world has evolved and changed, and he has been taking a lot of lead in various transformation over a decade. So all personnel in ASEAN CIO Association are volunteers, yet we have formed very strong alliances across the region and have recently inked a memorandum of understanding with a very vital industry, water, Hydroinformatics Institute. And we basically work very, very closely, aligning to the ASEAN Digital Master Plan. And our flagship annual forum would be happening in Hanoi, Vietnam, has been scheduled currently tentatively in September 10th and 11th. I hope that many of you can join at the event, and of course, hopefully by then we all can travel. So the 8th ASEAN CIO Forum is a 2-day event, and followed by this forum in October, there will be a hydroinformatic forum scheduled in Thailand. Live chat is actually a weekly affair for us in ASEAN CIO to continue engage small group of people ranging from 40 to 100 across the region, but typically including viewership in a past track record of live chat. One of the couple of the live chat has actually exceeded about 1,000. And live chat digital channel actually opens up with the different demands by the C-suite. We have business consulting channel, coaching channel, city and urbanization, digital transformation. And for this session about innovation, we packed it under and recognized it under digital transformation. Digital water, one of the also exciting subject that is rather touchy and sensitive, but we're gonna explore working on it. That's digital fund. Green and sustainability, a hot subject with all the current climate issues and environmental issue, and of course the conversation on women and youth channel. So innovation, this subject itself, is a critical pivot for a greater ASEAN. And to begin is to explore the best means to nurture innovators and value creators. So picking up from the news, I think just 2 days ago when I was reading the IMD World Competitiveness Center report, Singapore, ranked first, Malaysia ranked 27, Thailand ranked 29, Indonesia ranked 40, Philippines ranked 45, and the list goes on. I'm just highlighting the top 5 ASEAN nations that are being seen in the IMD World Competitiveness Report. And the very key question is, will empowering our people on innovation help our countries to be competitive? So the IMD World Competitiveness Report, the benchmark that looks at the pattern emerges around international trade and investment, employment, openness of the society, measure related to political stability and to social and gender equality. The report is easily available. You can download them. So innovation is the next norm, as suggested and also mentioned by Simona and many of you. All right. This morning, live chat session with the youth opinion about ASEAN digital future. Youth spoke about becoming a society of innovators, acknowledging the current pandemic has changed enormously, that future becomes present, and how digital literacy with empathy matters, and as they proclaim as the trailblazer to be the change agent of the century with technology and innovation. So these youths have no handbrake, and they are all going out to take on this change and eat innovation for a living. So they know they cannot ignore the entire digital shift, and they know they either swim or they drown with it. Live chat 8th session, innovation is the next norm and imperative mission for long-term strategy towards future-proof business. As why is innovation vital to every corner of an organization, and what is the motivation of C-suite leaders to have a clear innovation strategy and process to measure performance. So in this panel talk, we will discuss why it would be crucial for ASEAN companies to deep dive into innovation, and we explore all the different ways And so now let me bring on my peer, ASEAN CIO Association Counselor for Indonesia. She is a non-digital woman recognized in the telecommunication. In fact, the overall Indonesia industry, you know, when you mention Safitri, I believe many of them knows her. So Safitri, over to you to invite your plenary speakers.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you today in this very interactive, interesting topic. And also would like to thank you for several of the participants for this event. I'm Sri Safitri. I will be moderating digital transformation channel for today. And we will discuss about the most interesting thing and needed for enterprises to survive during this pandemic, which is innovation. So before I call my speakers, I would like to give a brief chat about innovation. Innovation is not something new to me. Apart from managing customer experience transformation, I'm also one of a board of advisor for Amuba, which is Telkom internal innovators, and also actively monitoring several startups and innovators in Indonesia. One of my latest project is being a mentor for an inventor of RoboVent, a portable and affordable ventilators with latest technology using artificial intelligence, AI, and Internet of Things or IoT. We use AI to automatically manage the pressure and frequency based on patients' medical parameters, and we use IoT sensors to support requirements for social distancing to minimize doctors and nurses getting close to patients. Doctors and nurses can monitor patients' condition remotely, and also Indonesia government will be able to monitor patients all over Indonesia. So these inventors will clearly help hospitals and paramedics in solving COVID issues currently in Indonesia. So pandemic now has attacked more than 130 countries of the world, has caused a global recession. So to rise again from the slump, many countries have loosened their economic activities towards a new norm, including ASEAN. New norm, these two words have been discussed during the pandemic COVID-19. Experts and futurists have suggested that in order to survive after COVID, enterprises needs to be adaptive, collaborative, and innovative. So if we see that 9 billion people in 2023, technology is everywhere. Now it seems that technology has never been this important for human safety. Technological advances and innovations are proven to be driven faster when there are greater pressures such as a war or pandemic at this time, which forces us to think out of the box. So innovation is definitely one of the key success to thrive after pandemic. How enterprise can be creative to collaboratively deliver new products and services addressing the next norm using the latest technology, AI, blockchain, cloud, and IoT. Can ASEAN promote open innovation? Are there open innovation platforms available in ASEAN that can drive change, strengthen talent, increase productivity, and generate opportunities? So for this reason, ACIOA has held a series of live chat with the theme of innovation is the next norm with 4 of our distinguished speakers that are already here. I would like to introduce Ms. Simone van Nerven, Innovation Catalyst of Chanel, Mr. Yu Chi Wei, CEO and co-founder of Concordia PT Ltd. We have also very lucky to have the presence of Dr. Kandi Leopold, Chief Advisor for Future Foresight and Innovation, and Dr. Andy Lee, Business Development Director of Advanced Remanufacturing and Technology Center Agency for Technology and Science Research. So before we start the discussion, I would like to ask our speakers to briefly introduce themselves for about 3 to 5 minutes and explain what they do in terms of innovation in their current role serving their organization. Shall we start with Simone?
Yes, thanks for having me. And for me, good morning. I will start sharing my screen, so hopefully that works well. I prepared a couple of slides for you to... I hope this works, right? You can see my screen? Okay, good. So my name is Simone van Nerven. That's obviously a very Dutch name, although I have been living in many different countries. Because of the COVID crisis, I'm now in Amsterdam for already 3 months in a row. A little bit about me. When I ask my colleagues, friends to describe me, I think this is sort of the commonality. A little bit crazy, but I think people in innovation are, all of them are a little bit crazy. That also means that after a long career, corporate career, over 2 years ago, I decided to found my own company. And my company is called Rebella. When I build teams and help companies, there is one thing that happens. My teams are always a little bit crazy, and I think I might get the craziness out of people a little bit. But I think it's good to have fun while you work quite hard, right? What do I do? I try to capture that in 2 slides while I'm still also exploring all kinds of different business models. But basically, I help organizations to connect the future to the now. So I like to work in Horizon 1 is where you keep your feet on the ground, because innovation for me is keeping your feet on the ground. But it's also having your head in the clouds, right? To look at the future. So look at the future, what happens in 5 years from now, but even beyond that. And I think there is a way to connect these horizons. And often you see companies dividing this, but I think it's extremely powerful to connect these 3 horizons. Furthermore, I also think that innovation is not only about technology, it's also very much about people. So when I help organizations, I bring human and tech together. This leads to highly motivated and engaged employees ready for the future. Currently, my customers are, I work for KLM. I help Vueling Airlines, which is a Spanish budget airline. Worked in the past for a truck company and the Royal Dutch Post, and currently also helping Chanel. And last week I had a new client in the railway track of Holland. So it's so for me, innovation is not tied to just one industry, and it helps tremendously to be part of different industries to leverage innovations across industries. Something that needs to happen more, to my opinion. I want to leave it with that because I think the others have also a very interesting story. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simone. Very, very interesting introduction. So shall we have Yuji to share?
Yep, Ziwei, right. Let me just share my screen then. Hang on. All right, can you guys see the slides? All right, so basically, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Concordia, and we are an open innovation platform. So let me just set the stage by just saying something that we already know. You know, innovation is the driving force of every industry. And it's come to the point where if you're not constantly innovating, you're also a company that is constantly getting outdated. And innovation is so important to companies such that it really means the difference between survival or, you know, the opposite, which is going out of business. And you know, on the extreme end, it is like succeeding really well. So that is why I actually took this idea of an open innovation platform. Like what Simone has mentioned earlier, it is about bringing human and tech together. So the traditional approach to innovation is one where the companies innovate internally. So there's an organization boundary where they get their internal ideas, they do idea generation, it goes down the funnel, and then finally it launches to the current market. But the problem with this is that there lies 3 main problems. So it's time consuming, number 1, expensive, and therefore risky because everyone has a finite amount of resources. And finally, at the end of the day, it is unproductive. And that is why you know, we came up with this Concordia Open Innovation Platform. So what we do really is to connect the company itself to many external stakeholders, such as experts, customers, even students, research firms, and more. And what this allows us to do is we will host challenges in order to address these innovation needs, to combine people, to allow them to collaborate on our platform to come up with solutions to these problems. And in doing so, we are able to then address the current markets as well as the future markets. So one thing about our platform is that we are aligned to the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. A lot of the challenges that we're looking to host on the platform will be aligned to these 17 goals. So it goes beyond, just saving the oceans and protecting our forests. There's quality education, zero hunger, many pressing issues that I believe needs to have this kick in terms of the acceleration of innovation. And in terms of our position, well, we look to target these three main markets. Firstly, we talk about accelerating innovation. Second, boosting employer branding. And of course, finally, it's about identifying talent itself. So our value is really when we bring together the online platform in order to connect the target communities together, along with the support from the community. What we intend to do is create sort of a culture of innovation on an online space. Because the fact is that, or rather the myth is that everyone thinks that, oh, it's one guy or girl who comes up with this great idea. But the fact is, innovation is an additive process. So this is what we would like to simulate on the platform as well. It is about learning from what's out there and then adding your own spin onto it, and then reaching an innovative solution itself. So what we look to do is to make innovation valuable, engaging, and productive. And yeah, that's the end of my presentation. And I would just like to also thank Simone, who is also an advisor to Concordia's platform right now. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji Wei. So next, can we have Dr. Kandi, please?
Absolutely. Let me share my screen from here. Here we go. See my slides, okay? Okay, here we go. Hi, once again, hello from Bangkok. Bright and beautiful skies here. I'm currently serving as a chief advisor of the Future Tales Lab under MQDC, looking over the future foresight activities and innovations. My job is fun, really awesome one. I really think so. My job is to look into the future. Since the MQDC, Magnolia Quality Development, is a real estate company, and we are part of the grand project in our country, such as Eastern Economic Corridor built a large real estate project. So what we need to do, we want to make sure whatever we build, whatever we design is not going to be outdated in time soon. We talk about the projects that we built, the city that we design should last at least 2 generations to come. So in a sense of the timeline that we look into the future, it's not just a 3 or 5 years. We look into the scenarios 40 years ahead. Everybody said, you must be crazy because we don't even know what's going to happen next year. You're right. But the thing is, we are not building or just finding one solutions for any problems, but we craft out the scenarios and put into the probability for us to prepare and to build our organizations and also our cities and also our nation to be the future-proof one. So the photos right here is a lab that we just launched early on this year, and we focus on 3 things altogether, built on the data platforms. What we built right now is what we call Earth Pulse and City Pulse, to get to know the city better using the data and analyze into the near-term predictions, either the climate crisis, also whatever is going to happen that affect how we live in the city. And 2, activities on future foresight, which require a lot of fun skills such as critical thinking, curiosities, collaborations, and creativities all together. We need to look into the futures, what the scenario looks like, and then we need to prepare for that. And number three, this is what we do. We collaborate. We put this center as an open innovations or open research center. What we know, the public needs to know too, because once we talk about the city, it's not just a trade secret. If we want to build the preferable future, we need to, join hands with people out there, community, academia, government, and all the friends in the private sectors. So I'm really glad to be here. So I'm going to answer the quick one of what we see, what else that we do in the Future Tales Lab. Before I joined the Future Tales Lab, I was part of the consultancy of this company. And we look ahead 3 years ago, look into the future. Come down to our society, we have only two extreme scenarios. One is we're still here, we're gonna live on Earth, but in very different forms. Not such a good news, in terms of pollution, pandemic that we see this year. We need to be prepared to live in a very different form, different set of buildings, and we need to prepare our next generations to come. And another extreme scenario is there might be the great migration to someplace else. We don't have the capability of the space economy right now, but we start study in depth into it. And right or wrong, hope that it's not going to happen. But if it happens, we're going to be ready to build homes for people, for the poor, and everybody have the equality on Earth or outside Earth. So these are the key area that my research labs are doing. At the end of the day, we look into the habitat and well-being. So you asked me what is innovation means to me. I agree with you all that I don't think innovation just happen. They don't just happen out of the blue. It requires the balancing between the right brain and the left brain. The data to say that this is a fact, or the data we trust, we analyze it, and at the same time we utilize our creativities and put in our curiosity for something better into the future. We also really pay attention to the research and innovation in our organization. The Future Tales Lab is one of the research lab. We look into the future. And we have another, our sister research lab called Research Innovation for Sustainability, where we can see the scenario in the future 40 years from now and put into a project that we need to plan today, because today is the beginning of our future. So let me stop here and then we can continue on our conversation on innovation later on.
Thank you, Dr. Kandi. Very interesting I saw one slide, we are going to Mars, yeah? Very interesting. Okay, so next, shall we have Dr. Andili?
Hi, good afternoon. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so I think the first question the moderator asked about, personally, what do I think about innovation? So innovation to me at this stage is probably most like, it's a mindset. Starting with how to improve things, how to challenge, how to think of alternatives, and then from the greater of yourself to the environment, to the industry, and globally. So I will not say that innovation restricts in certain field or industries or so. But I would say that it's more like it's like a mindset that helps you to drive for improvement. That's my personal view in terms of innovation. And I'm from ASTA, the Agency for Science, Technology and Research. It's a public sector under the Ministry of Trade and Industries. And our primary role is working on science, technology, and research. So if you can see, in terms of the mission and the vision, is very clearly laid out the science and the development of innovative technologies. And more importantly is to bring economic growth and improve lives. It doesn't mean that it's just research itself. We do want to look into the impact that it causes through innovation and technologies as well. Based on ASTA, we have 11 bio research institute and then another 9 so-called science and engineering research institutes. I'm from one of the science and engineering. And we have about 5,000 staff. It's a big family. And from the 5,000, it's probably 4,000 are technical R&D people. So this is the construct of where I come from the public sector, looking into the R&D perspective. So I'm from one of the research institutes, the Advanced Manufacturing Technologies. So it's a consortium based, and this research center looks into public-private partnership. A lot of time people talk about industries. However, the government sectors in every country also comes up with a lot of public R&D, public funding. In Singapore, every 5 years is allocated research funding. And the current trend from 2016 to 2020 was $19 billion. And the upcoming 2021 to 2025, I have no idea, but I'm thinking that probably it should be similar, if not more. That's how the Singapore positions in terms of how it needs the innovative technologies to drive Singapore. And for us, more importantly, what we are looking at is how to bridge the gap between research and industries. A lot of time, public research is being done. It ends up in publication. So what is the outcome? It's very little translation from the theory into the implementation part. So our primary role is actually to do that. We call it the science of research and development. And we are mainly focused in the advanced manufacturing and remanufacturing capabilities, as we first started with aerospace industries in the maintenance, repair, and overhaul. And I can say that this institute is looking into a lot of collaborative between public and private, and most importantly is to co-create. And this is what we call the open innovation platform that the public and the private sectors want to create. So this is roughly the journey. I joined this company 6.5 years ago in 2014. And we have a general so-called a grand opening in 2015. So we are probably 5.5 years. I have the opportunity to see from how it grows from a little baby and to what it is today. And I'm very fortunate to have that. With that journey of 5 years, I would say that we have achieved quite a number of stuff in terms of innovation. We have worked with our members from the aerospace, Rolls-Royce, with up to today a $70 million joint lab looking into implementation of technologies into their factory directly. And we have additive manufacturing capabilities, robotics operating systems, overseeing the software part of robotics. And this is the open platform similar to Android. Then we cut across different industries, primarily from the heavy industries to the FMCG, the fast-moving consumer goods. Where we can see Nestle, P&G, Coca-Cola. I'm short of a beer company. I have a full collection of them. And then if you look into the 2019 and so, we developed model factories, looking into building model factories as a public test bed to showcase industries 4.0 IIoT of different capabilities, from the discrete manufacturing to the continuous manufacturing, which cover both sides. This year, before the pandemic, we are looking into the energy sector, looking from the fundamental type of oil and gas company to the renewable type of energies, as well as working together with our public agencies and others in Singapore. So this is roughly what ARTC is as of today. So the whole idea of innovation, we always talk about the TRL level, the technology readiness level. It meant from concept all the way to implementation. So where do we play? We don't do concept, we don't do prototype. What we look at is the valley of death between the TRL level 4 to 7. And that is very important because that is the implementation part where you need to translate from concept to product to implementation. And that's how we work with industries very closely to deliver this. And this is what I have at this moment, three very broad industry clusters, from transport engineering, consumer modern services, energy, and infrastructures. And because this is a consortium, we have different tiers of members, with leaders from each industry striving as a user of technology, and also with the technology providers, service providers coming together to create solutions. And more importantly, we learn from each other, utilizing different technologies and innovation, cutting across from one sector to another. I think I'll have a stop here. That's what I do in terms of ARTC and my role. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andeli. Very interesting definition of innovation and also their respective roles in their organization of how they run innovations, and clearly they are truly innovators. So let me ask Simone now. So from your presentation, your definition of innovation is having your head in the clouds while keeping your feet on the ground at the same time. How can you explain that? How do you connect that in real world, especially with this current COVID condition?
Well, actually, especially in this time, I think it's important that companies are able to manage the polarity, to stay in the here and the now, to survive, but also at the same time think about the future and how to stay relevant in the future. So what I see is a lot of companies are entering or are in the panic zone, which I can understand, because especially when you look at the airline industry, but also a company like Chanel, where all the boutiques have been closed, you have to find ways to survive. And customer behavior has changed almost overnight. So how can you anticipate on that? And for me, I think now is the time to search for new solutions or new technologies that can help to solve the problems that have that came due to the crisis. So that for me is having your feet on the ground, right? So the here and the now, the horizon one. But at the same time, airlines need to think, for instance, airlines need to think about different business models. What if people will not fly anymore? There's a small anecdote. 2 years ago, I started to advise or to lead the innovation team of Vueling Airlines, and I suggested to collaborate or to invest or to take over an online conferencing tool or something like that. They laughed. They were like, "Oh, that's that crazy lady from innovation." But actually, I think if we had done that, we would have been world news, right? So I think companies really need to open up their minds and to think about different kind of business models. Yeah. So for me, innovation is both thinking about the future and the here and the now. It's not one or the other.
Okay, I think that's a very clear definition, which I would like to ask Dr. Andeli. How do you see about innovation and what whether you have done several innovation during this COVID, and what are some of the ideas that you have seen in A-Star that can also be benefit for this current situation? Sorry, that is a question for Dr. Andeli.
Yep. Sorry. Okay. If you look into the so-called innovative part, it does not really restrict to just technology. I think very importantly, we need to look at the business model. Like just now I presented in terms of ARTC, the construct of a research institute primarily is to do research. But because ARTC is designed as a consortium, and how it attracts industries to come in to do a public and private collaboration and to co-create innovation solutions for implementation into the industries. That is one of the areas that you can talk about in terms of the success of ARTC, or in terms of the public sector doing R&D, the innovation part, working together to co-create solutions to deliver. I think that is very, very important. And from there, you can also, using innovative technology from one industry to translate and create for another industries. And they are able to share collaborative type of innovation solutions, and also the best, so-called the best case scenario. Other than that, I would say that if you look into COVID-19, what we currently have done in terms from my entity, we have helped because A-Star have 21 research institutes from the bio side and from the engineering side. Because of this COVID-19, we developed a reusable mask for our Singapore usage. For the last 3 months, everyone is scrambling to find masks, disposable masks, and you can see a lot of countries are ramping up in terms of disposable masks. So we also play a part in terms of helping Singapore as a public entity, working with private, co-developing a usable mask that can be washed up to 30 times. And the properties of that is comparable to the N95 also. So with that, I think this is one of the technology and we are able to provide, and the business that we work with industries as well as their expertise and knowledge to co-create. And with this important pandemic, we are all out of time, and we put our heads together to create the solution. Yeah, thank you.
So very, very interesting on what you're doing, including that, creating the reusable mask, because right now it's very scarcity now, and many people are not, some people cannot afford to purchase like a new mask every day. So I think going back to Ji-Wei, I would like to go back to Ji-Wei. How do you see your innovation platform can benefit ASEAN to drive change, increase productivity, and also generate revenue? With that, what has been discussed with Simone and Andeli can be something of be useful, and then also can be collaborative with your open innovation platform.
Right, thank you. What I believe about our open innovation platform is that what we really do is to use technology as an enabler for collaboration. So it's collaboration from multidisciplinary the people from different background, or if I'm from a biotech background, the way I see a problem will definitely differ. And that is what we want to do. We want to bring people together in order to tackle this problem holistically. So for example, this whole COVID-19 pandemic, there are many aspects to the problems that arise from this pandemic. One example brought up by Dr. Andy Lee is the whole idea of manufacturing of masks. But going beyond that, there is food supply that is a problem in itself, right? So this is what I look at in terms of the vision for my platform. It is really to bring great minds together to create this sort of collaborative liquid neural network on an online space, such that we can drive change through an online challenge. So what we are really talking about is getting people together. They are able to team up on the platform easily, chat with other people, experience the different ideas and different perspectives of who the participants of these challenges. And also these challenges are real problems faced by businesses. So we're talking about, as this platform is completely online, really getting it across ASEAN countries, engaging the different schools in different countries is very easy, very scalable. And also, of course, to continually innovate new solutions and identify talent. So what we really look to do is to power this ASEAN region to increase productivity by doing more with less, because looking for into the future, right? This idea of travel becomes a bit of a luxury. So having an online space, to actually do this collaboration and continue this problem solving and innovation is something that I really believe is essential moving forward. And definitely challenges are a fun and engaging way where there's a smaller budget being given for that challenge alone. And of course, this is what we are talking about in terms of increasing productivity and generating revenue itself. Yep.
Thank you. I think everyone is talking about airline. It seems that everyone missed really traveling overseas right now. Because airline is one of the industry that is having a difficulties at this time, and based on the current research that if it continues like this with the current situation, not many companies, airline company, will be able to survive. So with that, I would like to ask Dr. Kanti, which is very well known as a Wonder Woman. When I Google your name, you are called a Wonder Woman for digital assets. So can you share with us, how do you see the current situation will impact digital assets in ASEAN?
Thank you, and absolutely, and I hope that's a good thing though. When you Google me, yes, this COVID pandemic is actually bringing to a new scenario, a new normal, new beliefs, and new values to all of us. I always see that, especially Thai, for some reason, we are really good at crisis-driven innovations, not opportunity-driven innovations. So come down to the rise of digital asset. You see, when we talked about how we touch, the bad noise and the nannies here, we don't really want to do it anymore. We are actually enter ourselves into touchless societies. We can do all the same. We can build relationship. We can be in the community, but we don't like to get the germs across to one another. And that's also true when we handle our currency and our asset. I know that the cashless society has been promoted for quite some times, but the COVID pandemic is actually brought us into the cashless society. Cashless in cash low society, where the economics, situation is not so good. So we need to find the new way to build our wealth into the future. So the digital asset come into play. When we talk about digital asset, a lot of people would automatically think about the cryptocurrency, the bitcoins that go up and down by demand supplies, that one extreme of absolute distributed infrastructures. Or another end that we probably have heard about it is about the rise of digital currency, and that is absolute centralized financial system in the digital forms. But something in between that I see that is a grand opportunity, which is the digital tokens, could be the utilities or securities. The reason why I say it's a grand opportunity is because this is, to me, it's a new asset class that people like us, or a lot of people, can also build and start wealth out of it. When we talk about the asset, we normally think about the cash in the bank, our stock, our real estate, and all that. But sometimes if we can tokenize it and digitize our intangible asset, for example, our social profile, our health profile, our knowledge or experience. So this class as a digital asset or digital tokens will come really a long way. I'm actually involved with one of the startup in our company called Xcash. You can search on it; it's pretty awesome. So it's actually the built up platforms that you can convert your privilege point in your credit card, the privilege point from shopping malls that you don't know what to use. You don't know what to utilize it, especially the airlines, by the way. So we can convert all kinds of those tokens that it has a very limited resource to use it into the central marketplace we call Xcash, and you can convert into cash and you can spend in a day-to-day life. I think that's a brilliant idea because it's a situation like this when economy is totally unknown in the near future. You can go around and look around yourself that you can actually have the intangible asset somewhere and can manage it better. So I see, yes, it's going to be the new asset class that everybody needs to well aware, something that you probably cannot purchase using cash, but it could be something that you can build up, from the experience, from your behavior, from the place you visit, from the book you read. So that type of thing that can be transact and also create the values and actually help in your day-to-day basis. I would say that the digital asset will be everywhere. And the opportunity to grow, it's just tremendous. Right now, I just would like to urge, the ASEAN country, don't stuck with the unknown of something is about the Bitcoins, or don't get too stuck with the old, I would say old-fashioned regulations that, you have to comply such and such things, but open up to something that will be, of course, risky, but somehow it could be the avenue that create equality in Southeast Asia. So digital asset is one way to, to explore altogether, and we can, if I, have one wish, we could explore these together and become an ASEAN standard. Just go, bypass the central bank's law regulation, so we can build wealth together throughout Southeast Asia.
Thank you. Very interesting. And do you want to comment, Dr. Andeli, on this digital assets from your point of view?
From my side, I think in terms of digital assets, because I deal a lot with the industries, what I deal with is from the hardware. In the 80s, we always say that hardware is king. And today, hardware is not really worth anything. And everyone now is going after data, Everyone is looking at data. And data now is the new assets in terms of digital. Yeah. Everyone, I can extract whatever data from one machine to another machine, from one customer to another customer, from one enterprise to another enterprise. And how are you going to align them? How are you going to pull the data to become information that's useful and ultimately will help in terms of the enterprise? I think this is this is so-called the new norms. The hardware has already become the foundation, and the new drivers are all the software, the digital capabilities that you need in terms of looking into the next 3 to 5 years. I would say that, especially for the industry part, where now you look into the pandemic, suddenly we are now all in virtual meetings. And there's only a very small part of it. With the opening up in the near future, I believe there will be more innovative solutions coming up. Thank you.
See, if I might add a bit.
Sure.
Yeah. Another thing that as a beauty of digital asset, as Dr. Lee mentions, that the technical is not an issue, it's not a problem, it's ready right there. It's all about the readiness, how we accept it. One more issue that I like to point out is we talk about equality a lot here. The idea of digital asset, fractionalization, tokenization, it somehow will open the opportunity for the poorest can gain the access or get the ownership of the land that they never imagined that they can be the owner of the whole piece of land. But the idea of tokenization itself and fractionalization itself would boost this opportunity. And that's why I'm quite positive with the growth of digital asset here in Southeast Asia. Thanks, Dr. Lee, for mentioning that.
Thank you.
Very interesting. I think talking about digital assets, we need to have a separate session specifically on that and that, especially right now, it's getting more and more required. But I think when people say data is the new oil, but the cash is still king, yeah? Okay, so I'd like to ask Simone regarding innovation. What does it take to build an innovation team and the kind of values that come along with that? If you'd like to share from your experience from Chanel, probably.
Yeah, so I built many teams, so innovation teams, but also, normal teams or other kind of teams. But specifically for innovation teams, I strongly believe in the potential of people, right? So I think there is a lot of hidden potential in people. When I build an innovation team, I prefer to look more at, characteristics or mindset above or even over the skill set. If people have a growth mindset, they are open to learn, they are regarding feedback as a way to grow, they help each other and others to grow. So I think in an innovation team, you have to have people with a growth mindset. And also, I think it's very important. This taps also in what all the others have said about collaboration, is that people in an innovation team never play a zero-sum game. And with a zero-sum game, I mean, if you play the game, I win, you lose. There's always someone who is losing. But I prefer to think in a positive game. So how can you figure out a win-win situation so that everybody benefits from that? I also think that the people in innovation teams are a little bit the crazy ones sometimes, right? So they do solve very current problems, but they are also there to dare to ask provoking questions. And so the questions that I asked the CEO, for instance, of Vueling Airlines is, hey, are we still an airline in 10 years from now? And especially if you look at this specific airline, it's an airline in Europe, only flies European destinations. And I think there are trains, autonomous cars, and everything like that who is competition. At Chanel, I provoke to say, hey, have you already seen what's happening in the world of digital fashion? Currently, you see the fashion shows. They normally is a big gathering together. Everybody flies in. It's highly polluting. It's not environmentally. It's not good. But there's a lot of developments going on to replace this offline world with a digital world. So I think people in innovation, they have to open up the eyes of the others in the company. And furthermore, and this is one I push for, and I wish for everyone, is to fall in love with problems and not solutions. Because if I see a lot of people who fall in love with their solution, but sometimes the solution is just not solving the problem. And when you're in innovation, you're also solving problems, right? So you have to let go your baby if it's not solving the problem. So when you fall in love with a problem, you keep on finding solutions to solve it until you have solved it. So I can talk about this for hours, but I think this will mainly capture.
Thank you, Simone. I mean, like it's very interesting to learn. But again, airline is on the hot topic, yeah. So one of the research that I mentioned is that with current loading factor of 62%, the result shows only 4 airlines will survive. So it's that tough. So it's very tough, and it's challenging for us as an innovator to think about how can we rebuild this economy through innovation, especially for airlines, if that's the case. So I have a question from Pak Prama here for Chi Wei. Can you foresee how this pandemic can change the use of innovation platform like the one you currently manage, and what significant changes we will see in the next normal in innovation management area?
Right. Thank you, Pramesh, for the question itself. Well, the whole thing about the current COVID-19 pandemic is that what it has done is basically bring our future to our present. A lot of so-called future needs suddenly become so pressing. And the whole thing about what Dr. Kandi has mentioned is like no lesser physical touch between the communities itself. That is something that has accelerated the pace of this online adoption. So in terms of the platform I actually run, what we do on the platform is we are able to actually run a completely online challenge. So in fact, this is something that I believe bodes well, or in fact, this is something that fits in well with what we're doing, because we are able to hold it completely online. In terms of even finding a team online, if you're someone who has joined a challenge by yourself, that is something that you can do on Concordia itself. And that is where I see really this whole pandemic is really shifting us towards this acceleration towards digitalization, even in terms of the innovation management area, whereas previously it could have been, actual events where you go down to a certain venue and have like a short hackathon Now that is not possible because of just the large number of people that are around. And as well as to share, we as a platform, we also are working right now with the ASEAN CIO Association, the Green Exchange communities that will start next year. So where this group of 50 companies will throw in their challenges to find solutions through our platform. So I think this is where we really talk about, because next year, we're not sure about the whole idea of travel, what's going to happen next year. Hopefully, this COVID-19 pandemic we'll find a vaccine and everything can move back to what it is. But at the same time, we have already taken up the adoption of many new features and new innovations itself. Yeah, so that definitely is the so-called new norm in terms of the innovation management. Moving towards a purely online space is something that Concordia definitely is aligned towards.
Thank you, Jiwei. So we have also a question from Jeanette. I think that will be suitable for Andy Lee. The question from Jeanette is that looking into change in business models, industries should put their trust into biomed or pharmaceutical sectors. What we are not looking for is the cure aside from putting trust to digital technology sectors. So what recommendation that innovation will share to overcome the struggle in pandemic? I think this is also linked to my questions, is that why do some people struggle with innovation?
I think if you look at the current situation, the pandemic has caused the whole world to work together, be it that you are willingly or not willingly. That is one good point where you see, okay, no doubt that this is a pandemic, but you see all countries working together, trying to solve problems. You are no longer isolated. You're no longer saying that I'm taking care of myself. And that is one of the key points I will say why people struggle in innovation is because you are in isolation. You need to be open in terms of willingness to collaborate is the key. I think that's very important. And they are able to provide very innovative ideas, solutions, and so. That's why from this perspective, I would say that yes, it's a pandemic that the whole world is suffering, but it also gives us an opportunity to really look into what we are doing now. You see, we understand that, what we are doing is more like an autopilot. And now suddenly with this shock wave coming globally, we have to really think about the business model, the way we do things, the digitization journey that will used to be the back burner, but now it's in front. Everyone is going to digital. And if you look into the pharma, yes, they have cut short in terms of 5 to 10 years of R&D. They are pushing in terms of delivering the solution in 15 to 18 months. Yeah. But this is only an episode in the next 2-3 years max. But what about that? Innovation will not die. Innovation will keep on moving and it will proliferate into other industries. And if you look into the current development of 5G, which is all about connectivity, your data, your information, how will it transpire in terms of 5G applications? Thank you.
Thank you. I think the same question I think goes to Simon. You wanna ask you wanna add something? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the question is also about that the focus should be on to finding a cure for a pandemic like that, right?
Yes.
And that might be the reason to focus on this industry. I also read an article that the environmental impact or the global warming and what is happening with the world is correlated with viruses to break out. So I think it will not only be connected to just this industry, but I think every industry and every company should be aware of the environmental impact they have. And they should really work on their sustainability strategy. So that's what I wanted to add. It's not just one industry that needs to take their responsibility.
Thank you. So the same questions to Dr. Kandi. From your point of view as an investors and also entrepreneur, how innovation, this is also a question from Francis Joy Munet, how innovation can help our modern technology, and then how can it play a role in creating big opportunities for startups in technology and healthcare sector?
Oh, I love these questions. Yes, the health tech startup is really as a hot shot right now. If I look back in terms of the investment values in the past, in 2019, if I get the number correctly, 7.4 billion US dollars from 2019 alone. And this number is actually rising. We would look back the year before. So the market in health tech is very bullish right now. I'm going to say that when you talk about health tech, health technology, for now, especially once we have seen the pandemic that we never seen in our lifetime and hope not to see it again, we see that this is very important, especially not just the healthcare industry, but the incumbent as a whole. Back again to my main business that I'm hosting the research lab. We are the real estate, but now our next move is to become advanced well-being real estate, where we believe that the preventive healthcare will play the key roles from now into the future. With the aging society, we are gonna get older, but we're not gonna look older. We're gonna look pretty much the same as this if we're gonna meet as a reunion in the next 10 years. So we're gonna, I hope, so we're gonna stay in the job market like this. The aging societies is also bring the needs of the health tech. We don't want to get old. We want to be strong and healthy. So when I see the future of health or the future of healthcare, to be honest, when the government asks me, what kind of hospital, what the size, how many beds of the hospitals that we should build in the cities, I go like, that's not the right questions. We don't want to build the large hospitals to treat or to cure sick people. We would like to build the infrastructure to prevent them to get sick in the first place. We would like to build for them to have their, the early signal, the early warning of their illness in the first place. So now, back to your questions. So what kind of health tech investment we are looking at? We're looking at real-time investment healthcare, the early sign of illness built in our infrastructures, in our home, in our office, in our public space, somewhere that we can discover before things gets worse. And also we talked about bear in mind, once we get stronger, the new disease will emerge as well. So this type of thing will go in hands together. So back to the infrastructure. So what else do we need? We need, once again, back to our previous conversation, we need to have a grand data platform, the health data platform, without evading any privacy of anyone, but just, as a community to be healthy all together. I think that's a need that we need to build. And two, we need to look more into the well-being and care deliveries, not the hospital, but the way that we can do, from the wearable device, from the smart mirror from your home, from the smart toilet in your home, that you can do the early detection. So, predictive healthcare and prevention healthcare will be the key as the opportunity for health tech startup from now into the future. That's just for sure.
Interesting. So with following that, do you think that if we ever have another pandemic next year, with that, will we be ready, more than ready for that, Dr. Kandi?
Those are good questions. People ask me a lot, believe it or not, this is unprecedented to have the COVID pandemic, but I think we could be more ready. But then that is go back to the previous questions that you have, and how would society would shift from now? Are we going to move into the new normal, or are we going to go back to the regular normal as one of the questions in the chat groups? I believe our social structure would change. We love to be together because we're human, but we're going to keep distance. We'll be more careful. But in the downside that I'm worried is at a trust issue. It's more like once we have the touchless societies, we talk about some psychological issue or trust crisis that might happen in our generation or the younger generations to come.
Yeah, I agree. Things are not going to be the same ever again, because every countries will be limiting travelers, and I think, but the other will be improving as well. Local tourism would be increased,
Absolutely.
or like specific tourism, like culinary or health tourism might increase out of that. So yeah, I think that will be another opportunity. But then international flight or international travel or cruise will be affected, because trust issues is also will happen there. So I'd like to discuss with Jiwei on the open innovation platform, how we can help ASEAN to eradicate COVID. Can it help startups or enterprise to strengthen their talents to survive after COVID?
Right. So I think some of what I've said earlier to the previous question does apply to this as well. Um, in terms of strengthening their talents, as we look at the current HR process right now, I have, in fact, many friends who kind of have their hiring freeze right now because of the whole COVID-19 pandemic. And the fact is that, the HR recruitment process right now is taking place online, be it an online interview. I mean, of course, in the past, there's already these online tests. So, what about those where they involve teams and teamwork building and assessing them in terms of a case scenario? So I think that is where this open innovation platform can really start to shine in terms of this whole idea of identifying talents for companies as well. Out of the three main markets that I've mentioned earlier, one of them is to identify talent. So the other two is accelerate innovation, as well as to boost employer branding. So right now, the whole recruitment process is taken online, and what we can do is really to our platform, there's a talent assessment tools that is based on their interpersonal skills as well as their technical skills at the end of every challenge. And looking forward, we are looking to incorporate personality or trait tests that different HR companies do include in their assessment as well. So this is something that organizations can look towards adopting. So they launch a challenge, put it out there, maybe to the students, for example, that are graduating, and say, hey, come show me what you got in terms of your skills and so on, right? So they will use this challenge as a fun and engaging way to screen through hundreds of applicants, and of course, in a way, it saves their time, as well as they have a better understanding of the people who are applying to their vacancies. And for example, if there is two vacancies, but the team is a team of five, so which out of the five do you want to hire, right? That is a very valid question in itself. So this is where our talent assessment tools really come into play to sort of cut short that time of course, at the end of the day, you still go to them and interview, get a feel of them. Yeah. So I think it's really a great time to, in fact, launch a challenge online to actually source for talents in terms of be it the corporate workforce or the student community itself. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jiwei. Anyone would like to add, Dr. Andy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of the open platform, open innovation platform, I agree with Zui to look into the how collaborative can work. And a lot of time, you can see that the young kids today is no longer like my generation or so that is satisfied with just working. I think they have passion from young, and from there they have the energy and they're energetic, and we should be able to create different type of platform to extract their mind, their brain use in a way to see what's their crazy ideas. Like Simon had mentioned, it's like we cannot restrict ourselves by judging them to say that, oh, because they're young, they might not have the experience also. And with this type of open platform, startups, all this, you are able to drive solutions faster. And with the support of the enterprise and those big companies that have the resources, you will see that the changes come fastest. In the past, if you look at the product life cycle, it might took from the factory manufacturing all the way to the retail, it probably will take several months to change. But in today's world, when I work with the FMCG, they say, I want it yesterday. And they are willing to streamline their supply chain, their manufacturing, all this. And all these innovations, ideas have to change from coming from just the originator. A lot of time we have to go back to the customers, asking them what is the problem statements, what they like, what they don't like. And from there, you're able to derive solutions to solve, to create solutions for them, because they are the ultimate customers. So in this perspective, ARTC drives in such a way where just now the technology readiness level, we don't do from left to right, from ideas to the market. We look at the market first, then come back to look into the solutions. What are the almost ready to go? What are the solutions that we can do step up improvements? And that we keep on deploying, and from there we are better. I think that's the innovative part and the open type of platform that we can leverage and create faster solutions. Thanks.
Thank you. I think we still have a lot of things to discuss, but the thing is, we have a very limited time now, and it's nearly ends now for the question and answers. So I think I would like to briefly share, like from our discussion, that in terms of innovators, the team needs to have a growth mindset, and also we've all agreed that innovation is the key success for enterprises, and open platform should be the thing that we should open innovation platform is something that we should think of together in order that we can work together to address the future. If it ever happen again, pandemic, then we can work collaboratively in ASEAN, and then we can minimize the impact not only for our own country but also for across region. And then that open innovation platform will enable us to crowdsource the talents and also build opportunities together. I think with all that, and also in terms of digital assets, Dr. Kandi, you have request to have a separate session later on digital assets. I think we should discuss it in a further detail later on. So thank you so much, Dr. Kandi, Simon, Jiwei, and Dr. Lee. With that, I'll return to our facilitator, Hong Xin.
Well, thank you very much, Safitri. Excellent job as usual. And to all the excellent, awesome, in fact, I'm so excited hearing what ASEAN Kandi that you have shared. I'm really looking forward to visit your future lab and to also explore in terms of like what ASEAN CIO can actually do with you for the work that we are serving the ASEAN nation in terms of development. And of course, my personal key takeaway that I'm hearing from all of you, all right, is that keep my feet on the ground, head in the cloud, okay? And, taking note about, because I'm based in Thailand and personally I run a crowdfunding platform, and I hear what ASEAN Kandi mentioned so clearly. We are so-called crisis-based innovation. And trust me, when I was trying to push crowdfunding in whole entire Thailand, it takes me so much effort. But during this pandemic, it's like this, just a click like this, all right? Everybody is like so familiar with crowdfunding platform right now. And the conversation about never play a zero-sum game. Oh, that is actually a very great reminder about, this whole team effort. And, Dr. Lee mentioned about things like, think about the future as when company enter into this whole pandemic situation, you need to have an open mind and not to, and yet, you know, while having said open mind, you are basically working with a whole group of innovators. So everybody have their opinion, and how do we actually work on collaboration? So for the context of like, you know, like this whole conversation on live chat aid, and we would foresee that we would have to proceed or even to take up some of the suggestions to fine line and see how we can actually put in touch the different people to work together as well. And you know, the conversation on also things like you know, things are not gonna be the same. All right, the next norm or the new norm. I think it's pretty difficult to return to like the previous, because even for a daily life, when I walk out right now of my house, if I don't wear a mask, I feel so naked. You know, I need to go back and grab my mask and to use it, or I look alien to many of the people. You know, they may not even welcome me. In Thailand, is that if I don't have a mask, I can't get on the public transport. You know, so the conversation on innovation being the next norm, and also ASEAN CIO driving the context of digital transformation, digital literacy, digital prosperity, taking note into this whole context and conversation on looking into the best for the human and combining technology together is long way to go. Quoting again, you know, I think it's Dr. Lee who mentioned that, you know, innovation is longevity. So with that said, you know, I truly like to thank every single one of you, attendees, plenary speakers, moderator especially, who done an excellent job, you know. And I'd like to just also mention that today's session has been recorded, and we will do a little bit of cleaning up and edit the video later, and then we will post them on the YouTube channel of ASEAN CIO Association, where you can revisit the conversation again. And do note that the next upcoming live chat, to all of you, you know, you think water. How is water and digital and innovation is coming together in order to serve and manage, or we call that water management, as water has been known to be, you know, in fact, one of the largest, in fact, one of the biggest world disaster is actually coming from water. So the next week's session on 26th, which happened to be on a Friday, I welcome every one of you to join in the session, because we're starting off the session for the first 5 ASEAN member states: Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam. This is the first 5 countries that we're talking to. And in July, we'll be talking to the next 5 countries. So to suggest for more topics or speakers of interest, or you like to be speakers, you're very much welcome to drop us an email at livechat@ACIOA. So it is our honor again to have you all today, and deep gratitude. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณค่ะอาจารย์กันดี